Hello, you guys. I literally have until about 1:30 to spend with you guys. Maybe it won't even take that long to go over this topic. I'm going to go ahead and lock my office door. But this is important. We come out of toxic situations. We don't want to repeat cycles. And I'm definitely all about giving you guys lots of things in your tool bag to observe about people. All right. And my disclosure before we even get into all of this is it's okay. If you find, let's say, for example, these are great tips to use in a dating world, in a dating realm, if you will. If you find that people are exhibiting these things, it's okay to just cut them off. You don't have to call them out on it. You don't need clarification. You don't need validation from them. You just know it and you move accordingly. All right. That's important. Save yourself a lot of stress and drama. That's the whole point of knowing this. Not to be someone's fixer, not to get into a confrontation by allowing self-awareness that they probably don't even want to hear, acknowledge, or anything of the sort, right? So this is just for you to know, and it's great to use on strangers or people that you barely know when you're gauging, if you should proceed with them or cut your losses at that point, which won't even be any losses really, except for maybe the little bit of conversation you've had with them up to this point, right? Because we're not prematurely attaching to people, right? All right, now. So, sticking to dating, because this is, what people, this is going to apply to a lot of people. So, it's going to be a good way for me to compare these things with. But start by definitely having your boundaries already. You can't be a free for all. So if you have some type of boundary, see how that person responds to that. Because we know that narcissistic personality disorder types and just toxic people, period, they don't like you to have boundaries. They want to be able to rub their dirty boots on you, for you to be their doormat, for you to be their yes person. Like, whatever they want, you're down for it. You're jumping how high when they say how high. That's exhausting. Oh my God. That's crazy. But yes, there are people out there that want that. So if you have a boundary, number one, you're going to stand out to this person. It might even run them off very early on, when they see you're not going to budge with the boundary, but have it. And I'll give you one boundary, as a matter of fact, that I think is a good boundary. And I recommend it to you ladies out there, on the dating sites. Have a boundary to where you don't give out your phone number unless you've met this person in person and you decided, that meant that you guys talked on the app. And I haven't seen one dating app that doesn't give you the ability to be able to call the person through the app anyway, even FaceTime the person through the app, right? You have all these tools on the app. So I don't give out my phone number unless I meet this person in person. Right off the rip, it'll weed off weak beta men right off the rip. That's just used to just collecting all these numbers. They haven't even earned it. Probably won't even do right by it, won't appreciate it and value having that type of access to you. So that's a really good boundary right off the rip. And trust me, it will weed off some guys right off the rip. And then it'll make them work for that. Like, we've talked enough on a dating site. We decided to meet in person and have this first date. If that goes well, hey, you want to continue? That's a great point right there to allow the person to have your phone number. So that's just a good tip for you guys. But, test your boundaries, as far as, let's say you have a bedtime. Are you going to throw this all away because you're talking to new people and this person is a night owl? If you have a cutoff time for your sleep hygiene or whatever, that's your boundary as well. So just see how people respond to boundaries, period. All right. And obviously, it's going to be a bad sign if they can't handle that you have any type of boundaries. engage in their toxicity. The next thing is hold people accountable. Point blank, period. Hold people accountable. Let's take it back to dating. If somebody makes a first date with you and they cancel, that personally, it would rub me the wrong way. Like there would have to be a certain way that that situation would have to be handled. Like the person canceling on you at last minute, don't even if they don't even call you for the cancellation, and they're just texting you and not even any excuse, anything like that. Like it's that's number one to me. People have to be ass backwards if they meet a good person and they're given that opportunity. And very early on, obviously, we're not emotionally attached to this person. So we're just literally all we know is what you're putting forward here, the behaviors that you're giving early on here. So if they don't have enough sense, like this is a first impression here, and they piss that off, mm, the things you take for granted, you tend to lose them 99.9% of the time. So yeah, hold people accountable. If they can't be a person of their word, obviously you're not even reliable and you're already being wishy-washy right off the rip. Like hold people accountable. I'm gonna call you later. I'll call you back at this time. Da 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 da. Like, hold people accountable. All right. Whether they want to hold themselves accountable or not. But then you can see how they respond to being held accountable as well. Because that's one thing. Like if you even get to the point where you're to communicate with this person, well, I like people that value my time and I'm a busy person as well. So I mean the way that you just uh canceled at the last minute, I mean, how long did you know? Like, and then if the person gets defensive, well, F you and all, oops, I wouldn't even respond back to stuff like that. I would just keep it moving. They've showed their face simply by you having a boundary and making them accountable. They did all of that when they were the one who set up the date and didn't follow through, who's being real passive. And the last thing that you want is some passive, weak man anyway. Like, come on, don't be a beta. That's a beta tendency. That's a feminine man right there because he wouldn't want to mess that up. All right. So, see how people behave when you hold them accountable. This goes for all types of relationships. It's just dating is really easy for me to relate it there for the masses of people. Okay. See how they behave when you have a boundary. Then find out the background story of this person's life. Like, even from their point of view, because a lot of times people will tell on themselves. So it's not, that a person has been through a lot of things, is what are they doing about it, or what have they done about it, or what are they willing to acknowledge about it? Like if someone literally sits up there and says, like, I don't even talk to my mother anymore. We have these problems, da 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 da. Yes, their mother could be a narcissist. If you say something like, well, do you think that has interfered with how you relate to women and how you feel about women? If they say something really asinine, like it has absolutely no bearings on how I feel about women, like they had to do no work in that area, and this is their primary caretaker, they're delusional, and it's going to rear its head somewhere else in the relationship. You'll find out soon enough, you know. So get the background story about this person, and especially with their primary caretakers, what it's like in their family. And it doesn't mean, like I said, we're not looking for perfect people, because none of us are. And even us have background stories, but we did a certain type of work so that we could cultivate a healthy relationship with someone else, right? So get these background stories, and see, you know, if they've even addressed these issues, if they even felt like it was something that they needed to address, because to some people it's just what it was, and they think they're leaving it there when it's very much alive and well in their active life, which takes me to number 4, which is getting the current story. Like, okay, this was the upbringing, And this is the results. This is where this person is right now and how they're leading their life. You know, if this person seems to have a weed problem where they can't even put it down to better their life, like, oh, I'm looking for a new job, but I can't stop even smoking weed to even get something better in my life. Like, these are just red flags, you guys, right? Of substance abuse, number one, addiction, minimally to that. But what are they stuffing their feelings for, right? So, yeah, get that current story for sure. Get the current story for sure. The next thing, you guys, is we're going to be definitely paying attention to this person's verbiage and how they talk to you, you know, um, period. How they talk to other people. I've noticed where people were talking to me nicely, but being very rude and disrespectful to other women. And like I said in yesterday's live chat, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before they start talking to you like that. Or the second you're not saying something that they want to hear, the second you rub them the wrong way is F you and all this other stuff. Like, I don't even respond to something. Like, if someone were to bring that to me, the second we have any type of little disagreement or anything ruffling of the feathers, it's just an automatic cutoff. There's no response. There's no going back and forth. It's automatic block or automatic cutoff or whatever the case may be. Like, your ass is grass, you know? Like, it's just certain things that should just be a deal breaker and unacceptable, especially on this channel where people may have been in habitual abusive relationships, and now you've done the work. There's no way you're going back. There's no way you want to be anywhere near these types of energies. All right. And honestly, I know that um, people are like, well, you can't always judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you just have to, you know? Sometimes you really just have to, just because of what you've been through. You may have to be more discriminatory about people in their backgrounds, where they've been, what they were into, because, that just shows tendencies, and although people can change and grow and evolve, that should be pretty risky to people on this channel who have suffered much and, been through a lot. Like, give me a square ass motherfucker, But even with that, mental health is very important. And there's an alarming amount of people who have no type of background or felonies and they're first time offenders, and their first time offense is horrific. And that's because they flew under the radar, They never got the mental health they needed as children. And now here they are, out in the world. So you can't always just judge it by that either. You really have to be able to observe someone. And if you're not taking this to God first and foremost, you're a fool. You got to do that. You got to ask Him to give you the sight and the ears to help you stay on top of it so that you can make these observations. And these are all the things that weren't being done appropriately in the past because we were in that codependent energy, prematurely falling for people. When you're not in that type of energy, you'll be amazed at how crystal ass clear it will be to see, engage somebody's level of toxicity. Because the last thing you want is somebody coming in, messing up what you got going on, setting you back emotionally, psychologically, physically, sexually, spiritually, all of that. Like, we've worked too hard on that. So you got to take it serious. You have to. You don't want to, and I'm not even going to say waste time, because it wasn't a waste of time in the past because you took those lessons, but you don't want to repeat cycles because you took the lessons. You've been there and you've done that and you're over that, right? We also want to pay attention to this person's communication style. Healthy adults are not just trying to text all damn day. Like, there's some phone calls, you know, you need to be able to hold a conversation. Like, how are you going to have a real relationship with a grown ass person that's adulting, that's about something in life, and you can't have conversations? Everything is via text. important things that should be spoken about, they're trying to text about it. This person may be a poor communicator. And unfortunately, no matter how nice they are, you're not their English teacher. You're not the one that's supposed to teach them how to be able to hold a conversation as a grown ass man or a grown ass woman. So, this person's communication style, and it, it also, includes body language and all types of stuff. This person's not able to look you in the eyes, like just take them in, take this person in if you even make it to the point of getting in person with them, but just take in how they like to communicate, um, engage in their emotional maturity. Because people, they tell on themselves. As people, they'll tell you they want a laundry list of all of this and that. They want you to be this and that for them, and they're trying to put a drop in the bucket for you, though. It's like, okay, you want somebody to be at your beck and call, this and that, but don't you know you want basically somebody to be a wife to you that you're not married to? That's the first place where they went wrong, right? And then you're not even given a fraction of that effort back in return. What world does this happen? What world does this happen? And that's called entitlement. And we know narcissistic people have a huge problem with entitlement. Entitlement. You want to check for a person's inconsistencies, like just like telling dumbass little lies. Like, why? Why do you need to do that? You know? And all types of other types of inconsistencies that could allude to them not even really being who they say they are, such as a single person, like hiding a whole family, a wife, a situation, a woman they're living with. Just, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But keeping your eyes open and your ears, keeping that discernment open, that's important because you are vetting somebody. Like dating is vetting, truly getting to know someone. It's so important, you guys, to do this with your eyes and your ears. It will dramatically lower the possibilities of, all that fuck stuff. It's going to lower it. Doesn't mean that people can't slip through the cracks, but it becomes harder when somebody is really paying the fuck attention. You know, you can't, be the person that just falls for what you hear. If you want to trust but verify type of person, fine. Like let the actions match up. Let them actions match up. All right. Sunset Shining says, I'm dealing with this now at church. I'm tired and don't want to return. The head narcissist never ever gets caught masterminding his stuff. I mean, is it the pastor is the head narcissist? And yeah, girl, there's so many other churches as well. Not to say that you have to jump from one organization to another, but if you don't feel at home, if it's not bringing you peace, because going into the quote unquote Lord's house is not supposed to be making you feel drained. Oh, the pastor is unmarried, his girlfriend. Oh, well, the way I feel about that is the pastor is the root of the church. This is the person on the forefront, and what stems from the pastor is basically going to be the fruits of the church. I'm not saying that good people can't be there, but if I'm not connected to the pastor, it's one thing to not be connected to other church members, but when it's the big dog, the person that is out front, the person that's basically the root. I mean, God's the root, but the personal root, the earthly root of that establishment. Yeah. Oh, he's saying the pastor is divorced and the girlfriend and the choir director. So yeah, so you may be out of place, in that organization. Only you can make the ultimate decision, but that's big. That's major to me. That's major to me. So, don't feel trapped anywhere. Nobody is trapped anywhere. You always have options, and there are plenty of ways to serve the Lord without, putting yourself in situations that lower your peace and whatnot. So just know that. And I hope, I wish you the best in that situation, that you'll put yourself first, pray on it, and see what God tells your heart to do. But, I'm sure that He wants you to be in a peaceful environment minimally. Okay? Minimally. You're supposed to be leaving church feeling restored, feeling replenished, feeling like you got poured into, and not the opposite. So something's wrong with that. So make sure you're planting yourself in the correct environment. All right. All right, you guys. And that goes the same for relationships. Relationships are supposed to add to your life, not drain, your energy and whatnot. So that's where you got to reevaluate that. And we're not looking for perfection. We're not, but you can't be going against other people's peace, and offending your basic boundaries that keep you stable in life, basically. All right. So quickly, I'm just going to go over those items again. We're going to first have boundaries, of course, have some boundaries. That means you have limitations, you have expectations, right? If people aren't, if a person has a problem with boundaries, that means they have a problem with rules in life. This is probably a very defiant energy. And nobody got time for hard headed ass people. Like, that's annoying. Who has time for that? Like, I don't need to force you to see anything. And I say that to people that come on this channel. If I'm not the one to deliver a message for you, don't worry, baby. There's other people. You don't have to come here. You don't have to stay here. Luckily, I don't really have too many issues with people spewing negativity here. In the past, like when I first started my channel, I had some issues with that, which was so crazy. We'll have to talk about that in a story time. Oh my Lord, this chick was off the chain. But yeah, yeah, just check people and make sure that they don't have a problem with boundaries and rules. All right. We're definitely going to hold them accountable for what they say, mean what you say, right? Say what you mean what you say. And you be the same way. You're not asking people to do things that you're not bringing to the table. You're going to find out the background story. How was this person raised up? And if it sounds like a lot of doom and gloom and trauma, you should be trying to see if this person has done any work to heal those parts of them. If they acknowledge this type of stuff, they're going to let you know by the type of responses they're going to be giving you. Find out their current situation and where they are in life, and getting the backstory. We're finding out about the primary caretakers. I got a drink. I got some cranberry juice. But yeah, we're going to be looking over their temperament, you guys, and this is to make sure they don't have control issues. Paying attention to their communication style, their verbiage, their body language, eye contact. Wow. And we can also test for their patience too, because sometimes boundaries can require patience too, certain kind of boundaries. So that'll automatically weed out a narcissistic energy because they're trying to love bomb and like rush a process. They're trying to build on sand. So definitely seeing how patient this person is. But if you could and these are just basic fundamental things that will help you weed out people real quick, and know where to put them. Okay. Mm. Maya says she has this problem with her parents. Yeah. Yeah. But the good thing is if you feel like, well, as far as them being able to handle that, you have boundaries, or just generally you have a problem with gauging their toxicity, or you have a problem that they are toxic? Which one is it, Maya? So Sunset Shining says, "Thank you, sis. I was just asking God for a sign, and your alert came through on my phone." Yeah. Aw. Yeah. Yeah, girl. You're gonna be all right. The good thing about God is that's who you're having the relationship with. It's all about Him, you and Him. So everything else, and God does use people. But the good thing is, no matter where you go, He's with you. So, but yeah, parents could definitely be toxic, Maya, you know. And a lot of people who grow up to continue to attract narcissism or narcissists in their life, a lot of times one or both of their parents could have been narcissists for sure. But the more that you heal that energy, the less you're going to be falling for the okey doke. It doesn't mean that you won't continue to attract narcissists, but you'll be slaying them, meaning they won't make it past first base with you. They're not going to get far at all. And it definitely won't be situations where you end up feeling duped because overly invested yourself into a situation and you were given too much of yourself because you're removed out of that energy. That's what I'm saying. The more that we heal these things, we're removing ourselves out of those energies, therefore ending the cycles. But ending those cycles don't mean there aren't still, unsavory people in the world, you know, they'll still be there, but you'll know where to put them. You'll know how to weed them out. You'll know how that looks from a distance. It won't have to be so up close, like, Dad, I'm already married to this person. I'm already, went that far with you. You nipped that in the bud early on. So Maya says her dad was in her jail her whole life and her mom was very manipulative. Okay, she moved out of the county so she can do whatever she wants with no one judging. And yes, that's why attract narcissist partners. Yeah. Yeah. So you basically put distance. Is your dad still in jail? But you moved out of the county. Okay. Yeah. But just, what I would say to that, and I've addressed this over the years, just make sure that physical distance, which is great, that can definitely be helpful, a change of environment and putting distance between you and the toxicity. But make sure that, the psychological distance is there too, because I've told people in the past where a lot of times the first thing they want to do is move away from that person, which is great. But if they're just going to end up right back at your doorstep, or meaning like totally consumed in your energy again, you can move all the way around the world and still be engulfed in that cycle of abuse. And that's how a lot of times, even when you're done with that person, if you haven't done enough healing, it's still tormenting your essence because, you haven't done enough work with that yet, or you're not addressing the right things with it. But I can definitely understand sometimes you definitely need that distance too. And that can be a really nice first step, even. So Mary Lynn says, every time I talk to this one friend, she puts in quotes, who I kept or keep trying to distance myself from, I feel so exhausted and like something is terribly wrong with me. I really can't talk to her anymore. Yeah. Yep. And sometimes we can outgrow our friends. And maybe when you guys first started talking, maybe you had some things in common. Maybe you trauma bonded, because people don't talk a lot about how we trauma bond with regular friends. We talk about it so much in these romantic relationships, but you can have a girlfriend who may seem like, Dad, we've been through a lot of the same stuff. And y'all start trauma bonding over this. Hold on a minute. So I'm back, you guys. But the more you start doing the work, you'll outgrow your friend circle at times, especially if they're on that same energy and you're kind of, it's going to, stick out like a sore thumb over time. It's just going to be noticeable to you because you're just not in that place anymore. Right. And that's a good thing for you. But then, you'll have to adjust. So you could put up the boundaries with that. I'm just rereading here every time you talk to her. And it's draining because she's probably dumping a lot of her experiences on you, and it's heavy stuff. When people are being abused and going through these toxic situations, it's very heavy, which is why it's very appropriate to go into counseling and stuff, and not constantly be throwing this stuff on your family and friends who love you a lot. But it is pretty heavy. And you have to know as well, Mary Lynn, and I work in this type of business. I have to clear my energy. I have to know how to be there for people and hear their worst times and moments, and not be a sponge to where that energy is getting sucked up in me. And now I'm feeling heavy for the rest of the day. So if you may be empathic or just more on an emotional side, you may connect with people that way. And when they're telling you these things, you haven't really mastered that good art of being a good listening ear without absorbing that energy to a way to where it's draining you, you know, because there's feelings involved there. Because if she's your friend, you care about her. So it's even more than me, taking sessions that I care about people as well, but I don't know them personally. So that's even more so. But yeah, when you're a listening ear like that, you have to find a way to lighten yourself, whether it's meditating after those conversations, or not being so accessible, suggesting counseling to her. You know, you can send her over to me. There's my website down there. I do sessions. It sounds like she might need a little bit more. Yeah, it's draining you, her energy. And that's a lot. It's a lot. But you could just set the boundary. And sometimes it's not even something that you literally have to say to people. You can just be less accessible. You can be less accessible. And that's a great way sometimes to teach people how to treat you, just through behavior. It's not even something where you have to have these drawn out conversations, especially if you feel like her emotional maturity is not to a certain level to where she will even be able to receive you properly yet. You can just start being less available, and it will force her to have to find somewhere else to direct that energy. Mary Lynn says, yeah, my parents and siblings are narcs, and I've cut them off 5 years ago. I also had to cut off so many people in my life. Since cutting off my family, honestly, it's just God and me and my daughter now. And sometimes it's like that, um, as we get older, we find out how we don't need so many people in our life. And God will reveal, obviously, that all you really need is Him, you and Him. He'll purposely sometimes put you in situations when you need to get that lesson where nobody else really helps you, and things are happening divinely. And that that's only God could do that. Only God was doing that. But yeah, people get attached to titles, and we talk about that here on the channel. And sometimes, especially when we're making a shift, we're breaking these generational curses, we're turning over a new leaf, we're deciding to not be the next generation of this or set that example for our children. It makes us have to, cut those ties to some of the people that are closest to us. But this happens, and it's been happening since the beginning of time. Like, even if we looked into the Bible, all those betrayals that was happening in the Old Testament within the first 5 chapters and all this, those were family members. Somebody's brother trying to steal someone else's birthright. Stuff like that is family member. And dark energy, they will Try to use the people closest to you, because those are the people that have access to you to try to deviate you off of your best life, off of, your best health, off of your best lifestyle, and all the blessings that God has on the highest of levels for you. Not just on a mediocre level, not on a just barely existing level, but on the highest of level. And sometimes it's just like that. And if you study a lot of successful people, you will find about isolation typically comes with that. Like, when you have greatness inside of you, a lot of time God has to get you by yourself, because number one, all of those people are distractions. You're not as focused. You might find out that's why, Paul talked about singleness a lot of times, because look at how focused you are and how much you get done when you get single. And some of you might notice, when I'm in a relationship, I'm so full of that, I barely have time. I'm not as productive. It's a fine balance that has to go on when you're bringing other people into your life on a certain level. But a lot of times that elevation, I haven't seen it yet where elevation didn't require separation in my life. Every time God's taking me to another level, people are dropping off. People are falling by the wayside. It just comes with the territory at this point. Like, when I see it happening, I already know. I already know. I don't fight against it. Even if it's people that I love, it doesn't mean I don't love them anymore. They're just, either they're not with me for this season, or they're just not with me for the rest of my life. It just is what it is. I've learned to be submissive about that stuff. Oh, okay. Maya said she moved out of the country. Yeah. Ooh, girl, wow, you really moved. Wow. And I hope that you really did that for you. I hope that that was just for you, moving out of the country. Because you don't have to move out of the country, to have those boundaries psychologically and all that stuff. So I hope that that's going well for you, and that that has made you happier. I hope that you weren't the one making, any crazy sacrifice to get away from a toxic group of people, your parents or whatever. Yeah, you're welcome, hon. I definitely, know what that's like to, have at least one dysfunctional parent, for sure. And that really, it took me it took me a lot of counseling to really begin to address so much of that, so much of it. So people really don't understand how that affects things, but it does. But with that being said, you guys, it's almost 1:30 in 4 minutes. I have to definitely go into a meeting. It's a firm 1:30, so I'm gonna have to hop off of here. I love you guys. Yeah, I just want the best for you all. That's what I've made this channel for. I've been through a lot in my life. One day I have to really maybe I'll just, sit down and really tell you guys my story. Like, this channel didn't come from nothing, that's for sure. It's not just out of no textbooks. All right. It's really not. Sunset Shiny says, I'm so heartbroken, but thankful to hear your voice. I literally have no one else to talk to about this. Well, yeah. Well, you can add me to the list. And you have God too. Don't underestimate him. Like, he's the big dog. He just works through me, but he's the big dog. And he hears everything. So you turn to him like you would your bestest of friends, because that's who he is. And you tell him, he already knows anyway. But it's good for you to use your free will that he gives you to invite him into that, to, help you make the right decisions for you in your life, right? But don't put yourself in a jail. Don't be the caged bird with the open door there. Just know that you have options. As long as you see them, that's important. A lot of times people in oppressed situations, they're not seeing their options as well as they should, because they're so swallowed by their feelings at the time. They're distracted by the hurt and the pain, and you're not able to get into that logical part of you as much, because that's taking a lot of your focus. So have that healthy balance of logic at this time so that you can come up with some a resolution, because that's what's going to be important. We got to feel, but then we have to think, okay, what needs to be done differently now to resolve this issue or to, move out of this situation? Because you definitely, like I said, you got some options. You're welcome, Marilyn. Yeah. And God bless you. God bless you. But yeah, you could definitely set boundaries, and this goes for anyone. Just start, like I said, it will force them to have to take another way. And it doesn't take your love away, but you're putting your self care first. And like you said, it shouldn't be draining. And I would be wary of a friend that never has anything good to talk about. And if this has been years, that means this person is not learning their lessons. They're repeating cycles and it's becoming habitual. And some people, unfortunately, I won't call it thriving, but it feels comfortable for them to stay in a certain energy than to have the change. So that's not good. You may need better quality. It's time for you to have some better quality of people to hang out and exchange your energies with. Because when you're exchanging with that person, it's just literally a taker. How refreshing will it be to talk to someone like, man, every time I talk to this friend, I feel better afterwards. I learned something from her. It's uplifting. It should be that sometimes. It can't always. Now, people go through things, but shouldn't be always a Debbie Downer, always some type of negativity. Nothing is ever going right in your life. Hmm. Okay. So something is wrong with that picture. But I have to go, you guys. I love you. I'll come back on here when I can. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell so that you're notified, because I don't have a set schedule. I have so much going on off of YouTube. It's really hard for me to set schedules, but when I'm here, baby, I am here. And live chats are a great time to talk to me, especially if you can't afford to get with me one-on-one or do the coaching or anything. All right. I hope this helps someone. And until next time, you guys, never give up on yourself. Continue to do the work, right? And take care and stay safe. Bye bye, you guys.